I'm Hoon, and this is my final presentation, and the title is My Journey in Linguistics. The contents are simple: Introduction to Linguistics, key topics, there are three, of interest, broader insights and personal growth, and then conclusion. First, Introduction to Linguistics. Linguistics treats communication as analyzable data, which was first sounded impossible to me, but it actually wasn't, and I'll talk to it later in the conclusion. And there are linguistics also reveal meaningful insights and key topics. First of all is morphology, and the key term in morphology is morphemes. Morphemes are the smallest units carrying grammatical or semantic meaning within words. There are two types of morphemes: free morphemes which can stand alone, and there are nouns, verbs, adjectives, adverbs, and so on. And there are bound morphemes, and that must be attached to other morphemes, and this is called affixes. These morphemes are very important in analyzing language because they grow up to be words, and words grow up to be sentences, and this shows that how language is constructed. The examples of morphemes, I chose the word unacceptable because there are three morphemes in it. First is un, and as you can see, it's a bound morpheme, and it's a prefix that comes before a free morpheme, and this means no or not. The second morpheme is accept, which is verb and a free morpheme, and this means to agree to take something. And the last one is able, which is a bound morpheme and a suffix, which means capable of. Together, they consist the word acceptable, which means not capable of agreeing to take something, which is the exact meaning of an acceptable. Second of my favorite parts was prescriptive and descriptive grammar. The prescriptive grammar is forcing people to use what is already a norm in a language, and there are two examples of it. My favorite examples is first, no, not splitting infinitives, which means you should say not to go rather than to not go. And the second one is no double negation, which means he is double negatives, and the example is he isn't going nowhere. This seems pretty fine because obeying to rules are not that bad, but uh, when prescriptive grammars are overly obeyed, there can be some problems, which makes people anxious if they say something wrong, and they make hierarchies depending on which language varieties they say. And that's why descriptive grammar is important. Descriptive grammar observes how language is used in real lives and acknowledges natural flow and evolution and variations. So there are no good and bad in descriptive grammar, and I learned that this is very important in learning language. The last one is my favorite, and it's language and the brains. There are three parts of brain areas for language, which we learned in the class. First one is Broca's area, which has to do with speech production. Second one is Wernicke's area, which is associated with comprehension. And the last one is arcuate fasciculus, which connects these two areas, and it's a fiber, and it connects each other. So if something goes wrong with this area, there can be illnesses, which is called aphasia. First, Broca's aphasia has good comprehension, but bad speech. Non-fluent, but good at understanding. For example, when you talk to Broca's aphasia's patient, he would most likely to understand what you say, but he cannot talk. So, for example, when you say, "Do you like an apple?" and he will say, "I like," and so on. The second one is Wernicke's aphasia, which is also known as fluent aphasia. The patients who suffers this disease are good at speaking, but bad at comprehension. And when you hear Wernicke's aphasia patients say, it would be like, I was walking on the street, no, blah, 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 obey to something, blah, blah, blah. I want some apple and blah, blah, blah. And you can understand that that makes no sense when someone is suffering Wernicke's aphasia. The third one is conduction aphasia. And this happens when a connection is broken between Broca's area and Wernicke's area, and the patient who suffers this disease are more likely to less capable of repeating words. For example, when you say to the conduction aphasia's patient, "Do you want some apple?" and he would likely to say, "Oh, it's delicious," or "Apple is red," and so on. So he is good at speaking and understanding, but he cannot repeat what the other says. So this was what I learned in this semester, and this is the broader insights and personal growth. I really learned a lot by studying social diversities and dialects. First of all, I learned that dialects are very fun and good to use in certain circumstances or any circumstances at all, because dialects aren't wrong according to descriptive grammar. They develop their own unique characteristics by their environment or their culture, and that's not wrong, such as AAE, which is African American English. And there are lots of uh, uh, things that doesn't obey this prescriptive grammar, but it's all totally fine. AAE is not wrong, and I learned it through this class. Second, social diversities doesn't matter uh, in social hierarchies, because using good English or bad English is impossible to strictly divide because there isn't any. So varieties aren't superior and they all have value and meanings. Secondly, I learned that babies don't acquire language naturally. I never thought that teaching baby a language is a hard thing because as far as I remember, I was very fluent with my mother language. But after studying this part, I really realized that teaching babies how to speak is very important and very complex job to do. Babies acquire ability to fluently speak their mother language in the womb and throughout their 2 to 3 year old time. This time is very important, and when you speak, when you interact with these babies with mothers, would more help out because that makes a child's vocabulary more fluent and uh, flourish, and their brains are also stimulated so they can speak more fluently. This was very interesting for me because I never thought of it before. So when I learned this, I talked to my mom about this, and my mom said that I was really hard to teach how to speak because I wasn't a good uh, student in learning my first language. And she really tried hard. She oftenly talked to me when I was in her womb and when I was born. And before I get before I became 2 years old, I really had much conversation with my parents, which I don't remember. And I thought when I become a father and have babies, I will more likely and be certain to speak to my child and as a father and have social interactions and talk to them in motherese to provoke their ability to speak in more fluent way in their mother language. And this is the most important part. And I really didn't appreciate the power of linguistics because for me, linguist language it wasn't a thing to analyze because how can you uh, examine language like science because language always changes. But through this semester, I thought that I really knew that linguistics are a very important subject in human lives. And through this study, linguistics can broaden people's minds and open people's point of view. And that's what linguistics did to me. Uh, Through this semester, I learned that linguistics was enjoyable and really opened my eye. And I really enjoyed this journey, and this enhanced my knowledge not only in dialects or treating people, but also in many ways, and not to treat people by their way of talking. And this is what I truly learned this semester. And thank you for listening to my reflection on linguistics. Thank you.